Bikers harass female truck driver until her military K9s show their training. The highway stretched endlessly beneath the roaring engine of Emily Dawson's 18-wheeler. The late afternoon sun was dipping behind the distant hills, setting the sky ablaze with brilliant hues of crimson and gold. Emily adjusted her grip on the worn leather steering wheel, the rhythmic hum of the road beneath her tires steadying her nerves. Beside her, secured carefully on the passenger seat, were two large military-grade crates. Inside, her most trusted companions rested, Zeus and Onyx, a pair of highly trained Belgian Malinois. After 6 intense years serving as a K9 handler in the army, Emily had left the battlefield behind. She craved freedom, and long stretches of the open road gave her that. Trucking wasn't just a job, it was her sanctuary. But although she had exchanged her uniform for a pair of faded jeans and a flannel shirt, Emily never traveled unprepared. Zeus and Onyx weren't just pets. They were family, protectors forged by discipline and trust in some of the harshest conditions known to man. It was just after dusk when Emily crossed the border into Texas. She pulled her rig, a gleaming black Freightliner, into a modest truck stop on the outskirts of a sleepy town. The place was nothing fancy. A scattering of diesel pumps, a flickering neon sign for a diner, and a gravel lot dotted with weathered semis and pickups. But it was enough. She needed fuel and a chance to stretch her legs. More importantly, Zeus and Onyx needed to get out and move around. With a practiced ease, Emily brought the truck to a halt and killed the engine. The sudden quiet was broken only by the gentle clicking of the cooling machinery and the distant chirp of cicadas. As she hopped down from the cab, boots hitting the ground with a dull thud, she felt it, a prickling sensation on the back of her neck. Eyes were on her. Across the lot, a group of bikers lounged near a line of motorcycles. Their leather vests were patched with snarling wolves and iron crosses. Tattoos snaked up their arms and necks, their faces shadowed under worn bandanas and grease-smeared sunglasses. They watched her with lazy smirks and muttered to each other, the low rumble of their voices carrying through the cooling air. Emily had seen her fair share of men like them. Being a female trucker came with its challenges, and she was no stranger to the occasional crude comment or lingering stare. But something about this group stirred her instincts. It was more than the usual curiosity. There was an edge to it. A dangerous one. She ignored them. "Let's go, boys," Emily murmured, unlatching the crates in the cab. Zeus was the first to step out, his sleek tan coat glinting under the fluorescent lights. Onyx followed, darker and heavier, his sharp eyes immediately scanning the area. Both dogs moved with the quiet confidence of seasoned warriors. The moment Onyx's paws hit the ground, he let out a low growl. Emily glanced toward the bikers. They hadn't moved, but their attention was sharper now, their smirks wider. One of them, a tall man with a braided beard streaked with gray, pushed off his bike and swaggered toward her. "Nice dogs," he called out, his voice a rough drawl. "A little thing like you sure knows how to pick some muscle." Emily locked eyes with him, her expression cool and unmoved. "I managed just fine." Another biker, younger and wiry with a jagged scar running down his cheek, laughed. "Maybe you need a real man to take the wheel for a while. We could show you a good time. How about it, sweetheart?" "Not interested," Emily said evenly. She clipped the leashes onto the dogs' collars. Zeus's ears twitched, sensing the tension in his handler's body. The men exchanged glances. Their amusement shifted, darkening into something predatory. The braided one took another step closer, his fingers flexing as though itching to grab her arm. Now, don't be like that," he said with mock sweetness. "We're just being friendly." Zeus growled, the sound low and warning. His body tensed like a coiled spring. Onyx mirrored him, his dark muzzle wrinkling to reveal gleaming white teeth. Emily's patience thinned. She met the biker's gaze with a stare that was cold steel. "I said step back." The biker smiled wider. "Feisty. I like that." And that was enough. Emily loosened her grip on the leashes and gave a quiet, sharp command. "Guard." Zeus lunged forward first, his deep snarl cutting through the night air. The braided biker stumbled back, his bravado crumbling as the snarling dog halted just inches from him, muscles rigid and fangs bared. Onyx followed, flanking his brother, his growl vibrating deep and steady like a warning rumble before a storm. "Whoa, hey, call them off," the biker snapped, his hands rising defensively. Emily took a slow step forward, her voice low and unyielding. You thought I was alone out here. That was your mistake. These boys are trained to take down threats a lot bigger and meaner than you. Leave. The bikers hesitated. Then, like a switch flipped, they backed off, muttering curses under their breath. The braided one glared at her before swinging a leg over his bike. One by one, the engines roared to life, and they peeled out of the lot, disappearing into the dusk. Emily stood still, heart steady as she watched them go. Then she knelt beside her dogs, rubbing their heads. Good boys, she murmured. Zeus's tail thumped once against the ground, but his eyes remained alert. Onyx let out a huff, his body relaxing ever so slightly. Back in the cab, Emily locked the doors and exhaled slowly. Looks like I owe you two a steak dinner, she said with a faint smile. She started the engine and pulled out of the lot, merging back onto the highway as night settled in around them. But something in her gut twisted. She glanced in the side mirror, half expecting to see the bikers again. The road behind her was empty, but she knew better. Some men didn't take rejection well. Zeus chuffed softly from the passenger seat, as if he sensed her unease. Emily reached over, scratching behind his ears. We're fine, she murmured. Just a bunch of idiots. An hour later, as the neon lights of a roadside diner came into view, Emily spotted the familiar glimmer of headlights in her rearview mirror. Motorcycles. 4 of them. Persistent. Emily tightened her grip on the wheel. She wasn't about to lead them to the truck stop where she planned to sleep for the night. Instead, she made a quick decision and flicked on her turn signal, guiding the rig off the highway and into the diner's parking lot. It was a well-lit area with a few cars and trucks, but not busy enough to guarantee safety. She brought the truck to a stop near a row of semis and climbed down, leaving the door open behind her. The motorcycles rolled in moments later, their engines growling as they circled and came to a stop. The same group dismounted. Boots crunched on gravel as they approached. The braided leader spread his arms wide as if greeting an old friend. You hurt my feelings back there, lady, he said. Wasn't very nice. Walk away, Emily warned, her voice flat. The younger biker sneered. Or what? You gonna sick your mutts on us again? Inside the cab, Onyx barked sharply, the sound slicing through the night air. The younger man flinched, but quickly recovered, laughing nervously. The braided man took another step forward. Come on, we're just here to talk. Emily had no patience left. In a swift motion, she unclipped Zeus's leash. Protect, she commanded. Zeus launched forward, controlled but powerful, stopping just inches from the man's chest. His teeth snapped together with an audible crack, and his growl was a deep, vibrating threat. The biker froze. His bravado drained away as sweat beaded on his forehead. Call him off, he demanded, voice trembling. Emily crossed her arms. Get back on your bikes. Now. The others hesitated, looking to their leader. One of them muttered, Screw this. It ain't worth it. The braided man scowled, but slowly backed away. Crazy bitch, he spat. Zeus lunged an inch closer, his jaws snapping again. The man didn't finish his thought. He turned, climbed onto his motorcycle, and roared away. The others followed, leaving behind only the fading echoes of their engines. Emily exhaled slowly. She knelt beside Zeus, her hands gentle as they stroked his head. Good boy, she whispered. Onyx whined from inside the cab. Emily laughed softly. Yeah, you too. That night, she parked at a safer rest stop, surrounded by fellow truckers. Inside the sleeper cab, she kicked off her boots and sat on the narrow bed. Zeus curled up beside her, resting his head on her lap. Onyx settled near her feet, his breathing deep and steady. You saved me tonight, she murmured, her fingers running through Zeus's short fur. They had been with her through war zones, through lonely highways and silent nights. They had never failed her. As Emily lay back against the pillows, staring up at the ceiling of her truck, she felt peace. Out here on the endless road, she wasn't just a woman in an 18-wheeler. She was a warrior, and with Zeus and Onyx by her side, she was unstoppable. And no one would ever mess with her again.